Good morning. This is the front page review on Voice of the People 96.1 FM. My name is Dikesiri Agua. You're welcome to the show. It's Friday, the 17th of May, 2024. Welcome. So today we're checking out a couple of headlines this morning from cutting across different newspaper headlines. There's this one about state policing. Calls for the establishment of state police got the backing of the speakers of the 36 houses of assembly on Thursday. They expressed support for the move, which they believed will boost the push against insecurity. Looking at the 36 state houses of assembly from the 36 states as well. So let's see how what that would translate to, if even though we have some state police in some different not necessarily in the name state police. We have Ebubeagu. We also have Amotekun. We have some in the north as well. So different states are bringing up their own different quote-unquote state policing. So let's see what the lawmakers here in the FCT, the National House of Assembly, will do about this, because seeing that they've gotten the support of the 36 houses of assembly yesterday, let's see if it will just make it into a law and ensure state policing, even though the IGP has talked about the fact that we are not yet ripe. We are not yet ready for state policing. We'll check that out in just a moment. Still in the news, the federal government has assured Nigerians that there is a firm safeguard for pension funds, which makes it impossible for anybody to tamper with them. The Finance and Coordinating Minister of Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, said on Thursday. If you recall, yesterday the federal government had said they were going to touch out of the pension funds, I think I think it was 3 trillion. Let me get my facts right. It was about 3 trillion naira from pension funds. This is supposed to help with the electricity sector, and just looking at the fact that they were going to take these monies from the pension fund to be able to fund electricity in the country. Well, let's check out what Mr. Rufai will have to say about this in just a moment at 7:30. Also in the news, the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, has said the different cries on the electricity tariff increase for Band A customers is from those who were not even paying electricity bills in the past. He spoke at an event on Thursday and said the new tariff has led to the reduction in energy cost for consumers in the Band B, by 30 to 40%, even though some people in the different bands have been saying that they do not even boast of that many hours of light. So I'm under the Band B, and I can count the amount of hours, the number of hours that I have electricity in a day, right? I can count it in a day. So you begin to wonder what exactly these different bands are for, and why they would put you in a band when you do not want to be in a particular band. So you already give us 5 hours of light. So why do I not pay for the number of hours that I get the light? Why do you have to segment us in different bands? What exactly is the classification needed for, right? Just let us pay for the number of electricity that we already use. Why can't we do that? Why can't everyone be under the same tariff, right? And then we pay for the number of hours that we use. Why give us different bands and then charge us different prices? It does not make any sense, because then anyway, we'll get into the crux of the matter in just a moment. INEC has cautioned the governors of Edo and Ondo states and other politicians in the state against abusing the power of incumbency during the upcoming gubernatorial elections in the state. We know that elections are fast approaching for Edo and Ondo states. INEC had begun registrations for people in that particular state, and now we're seeing the chairman of the commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, issuing a warning to governors of the state not to use their power of incumbency during the gubernatorial elections. We'll see how that will play out. The drama in Rivers State has still not ended. Rivers State Governor Sim Fubara says those who do not wish him well as the number one man in the state, can no longer sleep. He said this when he hosted the state and national leaders of the Ijo Youth Council, who were on a solidarity walk to the government house in Port Harcourt on Thursday. I have some audio from that particular event. I'll play for you in just a moment. There's also news about the Kano State, from Kano State Police Command, and the bombing of a mosque on Wednesday. It said that 11 persons have died following Wednesday's bombing incident at a mosque in Gezawa local government area of the state. The police spokesman in Kano said 3 more victims died on Wednesday, raising the figure to 11 from the 8 casualties recorded on Wednesday. We'll check that out in just a moment. Why a civil dispute will cause you to bomb an entire mosque. Really, really crazy, even though the police has said they've not apprehended anyone for that particular event as well. Yesterday, the president hosted the new president of Senegal, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, at the State House in Abuja. The meeting was a courtesy call on the president of Nigeria by the newest member of ECOWAS as the authority of heads of state and government. Well, it's really, really important that we show solidarity to the different neighboring countries. We'll be checking that particular conversation in just a moment. There's also in the news, federal government opening the student loan application portal on May 24th. The federal government, through the Nigerian Education Loan Fund on Thursday, announced May 24th as the official date for the opening of the portal for student loan applications. Well, they are trying to, as much as they can, to mark a milestone before the month runs out. We'll see just how important this is for Nigerians, because it's one thing to do a particular law, it's another thing to ensure the smooth functioning of that particular law, to ensure that Nigerians are not pushing money into things that are a waste. I mean, look at the trader money. Look at the different policies of the past government. People borrowed funds and never returned. Borrowed monies from public purses and never returned them. So when you talk about student loan applications and all of that, what is the ability of these students to repay those loans? We'll check that out in just a moment, right? The president has okayed payment of 3.3 trillion power sector debts. The president okays payment of 3.3 trillion power sector debts as part of the measures to tackle incessant power outages in the country. The president has approved the gradual payment of the power sector's debt, estimated at over 3.3 trillion naira. Looking at the fact that 1.3 trillion naira owed to power generating companies by the federal government will be paid via cash injections, and 1.3 billion as well, $billion owed to gas companies will be paid via cash and future royalties as well. The Minister of Power disclosed this at the event yesterday, 8th Africa Energy Marketplace held on Thursday in Abuja. Still in the news, the court has backed the CBN and directs banks to collect customers' social media handles. The Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has held that the CBN regulation, which requires financial institutions to demand and collect the social media handles of their customers as part of the standard Know Your Customer procedure, is not a breach of the right to privacy. The judge said, in his view, the provision of a social media handle is the same as the provision of email addresses, phone numbers, and other means by which a potential customer of a bank can be contacted, or due diligence to be followed to determine if that person is a fit and proper person for the bank to do business with. And as such, the regulation does not amount to an infringement on the right to privacy. This is really interesting. Someone said on social media that don't you need my boyfriend's name and address too? Another person said, oh, okay, I'm not on social media. Simple. Will CBN all the banks now force me to be on social media? What is all this? Anyway, we'll find out just what exactly the details of this particular regulation, what it states, and how it affects us as Nigerians in just a moment. But before that, let's check out this particular video by Yahaya Bello chilling in his luxurious Benz. This is amidst reports that he's missing And still on his 85 billion naira fraud allegation by EFCC. And if you see this particular video, he is in a luxurious car, just chilling and enjoying himself. Really, really interesting. Take a listen. He's laughing and enjoying himself at this point. You begin to wonder the rascality of Nigerian politicians. You have the impunity of it all, the brazenness of it all. Like, you have a pending case with the EFCC. It's been seen that you spent a certain amount of money, paid it to a school for your children, and you do not want to go clear your name, but you are chilling in a vehicle enjoying yourself. Really, really interesting. There's this conversation by the former Abia State Governor Okeze Ikpeazu, replying Governor Alex Oti over 10 billion naira Abia Airport funds that are missing. I mean, there was a time I played a video. I played a video, I think it was 2 weeks ago, talking about Alex Oti, and he was addressing an international community and talking about the fact that Abia State had earmarked some funds, about 10 billion naira, for an audio airport. He said he's still looking for it, that he has applied what did he call it? He has applied he's tried fiscal search. Maybe it's now a different type of search to find the airport that is needed at this point. Well, let's listen to what the former governor, Abia State Governor, has to say about these allegations.
Yes, but I'd like to correct from the outset. We were thinking about a trade port.
Trade port?
Yes, because all we do in Nigeria is airport, and they don't seem viable.
Was that what also inspired the thought of Abia having an airport?
Yes, but I'd like to correct from the outset. We were thinking about a trade port.
Trade port?
Yes, because all we do in Nigeria is airport, and they don't seem viable. I wasn't thinking, Abia doesn't have money to sustain an airport. If it is for the purposes of airplane will land and airplane will take off. So we were saying, we can bring a small area into the airport so that somebody can come to the airport to shop and sleep and wait and then connect the next flight to the next location, as they do in Dubai. A small conference center, small hotel, whatever. So people there'll be life even after, And then, but at some point, we found out that we have 15 markets in Aba. At the point we were thinking about this trade port, we realized that the road to area was bad. The road to Izuku market was bad. The road to Ngwa Road market was bad. So all our markets, we couldn't connect. And my vision, dovetailing from my desire to drive trade and commerce, was to interconnect all the markets. And I will tell you the relevance in a minute. So we decided to suspend the airport project. So today, when the people talk about money for airport or whatever, I think they're questioning my decision to change my mind. And I have right at that time as governor to say, I don't want this airport now. Because if you land at the airport, where are you going to? You can't go to area. So I had to, agree with the status quo at that time for us to finish some of this road. I'm happy that today I finished Ezuku Road from that fund. I finished Fox Road from that fund. Ngwa Road is okay. Osusu Road is okay. So today you can connect area through Osusu Road to Ezuku Market and connect Ezuku Market to Ngwa Road Market. So I succeeded in interconnecting all the markets courtesy of that fund which we were supposed to as it were, deploy for airport. And thank God we took that decision, because if we had gone ahead with that, 10 billion wouldn't have done an airport anyway. And that airport, I know about some airports right now that were commissioned that are yet to receive aeroplane. So why would I tie down 10 billion naira for nothing? So I assure you, no dime of that money was diverted.
So
when we have politicians speaking like this, you begin to wonder, so why wasn't due diligence followed, in the sense that, okay, you had earmarked that 10 billion naira for the airport. Why didn't you then document it, that you used those funds to fix up the roads? Besides, fixing up those roads, was it going to cost you 10 billion naira? In the number of years that he was governor of the state, 8 years as the governor of Abia State, and still you have a lot of Nigerians from Abia State who are talking about the fact that he historically is one of the worst governors of that particular state. This is what they're saying, right? And if you recall, this was the same governor who had offered 500 naira to pregnant women. He said, do you not know what 500 naira can do for a pregnant woman today? Do you recall that particular situation? It caused a complete uproar in the media space. A lot of Nigerians were dragging him left and right like small generators. Say, how much? 500 naira, what can it really do for a pregnant woman? Even antenatal and all of that. What can he do? Well, we'll check that out with Mr. Larry in just a bit. This particular conversation with former Governor Okezie Ikpeazu. Now, in Rivers State, the drama hasn't ended yet, but Fubara is urging calm among the Ijaw youth who went on a solidarity walk to the government house yesterday in Port Harcourt to let him know that they're with him and they support him. He said his enemies have been defeated. Let's check out what he had to say.
Very unique. This celebration today is because this leader stood for something very unique. Genuinely equity, genuinely justice, and genuinely fair play. That is what Adakaboro stood for. And because he stood for that unique thing, even after his death, we still celebrate him because he was a liberator. Every Rivers man, it doesn't matter whether they Ijaw or whether they upland. The most important thing is that every genuine Rivers man must be a genuine liberator. And I'm happy that you have come here today. I've also received you because we have one common purpose: to liberate our dear state. We are not going back on that. I'm happy that you're telling me this morning that when I call on you, you will respond. But I don't want to call on you because we have already defeated. We have defeated them. By the special grace of God, what they thought that they would have done to us while we are celebrating our 1 year in office, they are the ones sleeping with their two eyes open, restless. It shows that we have the Ijaw blood. And what is that? What is that blood? Is the blood of action.
Really, really interesting. There's also another audio from this same event where he was talking about the fact that he was telling the local government chairman in the state to conduct themselves properly, that they've got a few days left in office and they should respect themselves. Let's listen.
Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Abia State, distinguished Senator John Asutaba, the traditional ruler of Elele, who is our host, the traditional ruler of Emowa, who is also our host, the Ebada Omok Road, is being constructed by our internal generated revenue, and 50% of that cost has already been paid.
The audio is really, really long, and time is far behind us. This is 7:30 already. We need to take a break and then reach out with Mr. Rufai Oseni so we can get some direction to our headlines this morning. Make sure that you keep it locked right here on VOP 96.1 FM. The drama is just unfolding. Stick with us and you get more details. Thank you for staying with us. This is still the Voice of the People, 96.1 FM. Thank you for staying with us. We also have Mr. Rufai Oseni on the phone this morning. You can follow us on YouTube, Voice of the People Abuja. Voice of the People Abuja. Good morning to you, Mr. Rufai.
Morning, guys. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you so much. It's Friday. Before we even get into the headlines this morning, do you have any plans?
Friday. What are my plans? Okay, over the weekend, going to do some inspections for an outreach we'll be doing very soon in my village. It's going to be a health and medical outreach where we give, items to people and also get their healthcare checked. That's going to happen sometime in June. I think we're looking at the last Saturday in June. So these are part of the things I do through my foundation, Resurgimento and all of that, and the Oseni Center. So, those are the things I just do. So it's just pretty much working on outreach and how you can better lots of people, because a lot of people are suffering, really. The hunger, the poverty, the deprivation is just too much. So if you can do a little within your means just to be able to help them, I don't think it's such a big deal.
All right. I wish you good luck in all your endeavors at this point.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
All right. Let's get started with this plan. or rather, the Federal High Court in Lagos on Thursday okaying the CBN's regulation, which requires financial institutions to demand and collect social media handles of their customers as part of the standard Know Your Customer procedure. First of all, I don't know what you think about this regulation.
I mean, what is all of this over policing? Collect so my social media for what now? My social media for what? Is that even you know your customer? You know my address, you know everything. What's my social media? What does that have to do? What does that have to do? That's my own private stuff. I can have 1,001 social media accounts. So if I give you one and I'm going to open another one, don't go.
Mm.
These people, the priorities are very misplaced.
Some
The
people
priorities are
said
very misplaced.
maybe because of cases.
Why don't the CBN also go and ask for the IP of my computer? Because my social media doesn't really mean anything. It's my IP that means so. Why don't they go and collect my IP of my computer? My IP address.
Some people were also arguing about the fact that maybe because of a hush puppy, because of some individuals that we've seen being fingered in one issue of quote unquote Yahoo stealing monies online and all that, and then posting on their social media pages and all of that.
I don't think that's their priority. Your basic know your customer is your touch points, your data touch points. They have your name, they have your data touch points and all
Your
of
email
that.
addresses and all that.
If they also see a scrupulous transaction in your bank account, they have access to your BVN. So I think those are touch points that are okay. So you should forget all of those ones.
All right, let's move on to another story this morning. The federal government yesterday planned to use pension funds, to take out of pension funds to fund key infrastructural development like housing and of course to find a way to provide Nigerians with affordable mortgages and all of that. This is according to Mr. Wale Edun, but the TUC had petitioned the federal government to stop that. They were talking about the fact that they were going to cripple the nation if this was going to cripple the nation if the funds were tampered with. I don't know what your take on this particular situation, taking from pension funds that are meant for Nigerians and using that to fund different infrastructural development.
I think it's a very bad idea. Like I said yesterday, please, they should not touch our pension funds. They should look for other creative means of getting money to be able to fund infrastructure. Not pension funds, please, because we don't trust them with anything they do. All the loans they've taken, how have they spent it judiciously? They should leave pension funds out of the conversation. Yeah, I know there are regulations that say you can touch 5% out of it for infrastructure. Shouldn't be more than that threshold. I don't even like the idea of them going close to pension funds because you just want to destroy the future of people. You don't even pay you don't even contribute to the pension scheme in the first place. Many states have found wanting.
All right. Moving on to another headline this morning. Mr. Rufai, calls for the establishment of state police got the backing of the speakers of the 36 State House of Assembly on Thursday. They expressed their support for the move, which they believe will boost the push against insecurity. Even though we had already talked about the fact that Nigeria is not ripe, is not ready yet for state policing in its entirety. What's your take on this?
Say that again, please.
36 state houses of assembly speakers, declared their backing for state policing yesterday. We had, I think it was last month, we had talked about.
No, I don't think we are right for state policing yet. Yeah, they can declare their backing. Probably their governors will tell them collect, because you'll be able to use to victimize your political opponent. Anyway, there are also outlier cases to it. Periodically used to victimize political opponent, but I mean, I don't think we are right for it. I don't think we are right for it. My honest opinion. I don't think we can fund it. I don't think the states are viable. Is it the same states that I can't pay new minimum wage that want to also add to the wage bill of policing? Then also the fact that we've not really gotten a proper structure and when you look at some of the ideas pushed forward, we've not really gotten a proper structure where we have an independent body to be able to look at this state policing. That's just it. So I think the conventional method of the likes of the Amatekun that, no real weapons, just intelligence gathering and some other little operations. Yeah, that one is safe, but I don't think we're right for it. Because we don't have decent politicians. I'm sorry to say that. We just have people that want to have behemoths. Just imagine in this Wiki and Fubara debacle, if Wiki has state police, do you think these lawmakers would, if Fubara had state police, do you think these lawmakers would go scot free? Just imagine that.
Really, really.
If Fubara had state police to himself, and it was the state police that provided security for these lawmakers in the rivers, what do you think will become of them? So that's my problem. Right? We have not gone to that political maturity. We just create more problems. The argument of what we used to have before during the colonial times, yes, because it was really watched. We have an overarching body with the British. Anyway, they were colonialists. We have an overarching body by the British. So
All right. Let's move on to another headline this morning. I saw a video, not a headline now. I saw a video of Yahaya Bello chilling in a Benz, in a very expensive looking Benz, just having the time of his life. Even looking at the fact that he still has a case with the EFCC, and it just smells of impunity. It smells of brazenness to just be chilling, to just enjoy himself while there's a case at the moment of 85 billion naira against him.
I mean, that's the reflection of what our political actors are like. Yeah. So that's the reflection of what our political actors are like. And if we don't learn to do these things properly, then we'll never have a better leeway. That's just it.
All right. We have electricity tariffs also in the news. Minister of Power Adebayo Adelabu, he said that the cries on the electricity tariff increase for Band A customers is from those who were not even paying the electricity bills in the past. First of all, I do not understand why we have different classifications, because if you are providing electricity for Nigerians, let them pay for the number of hours that they use. Why do they need to be charged per kilowatt hour different prices? Why do they need to be classified differently? It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me at this point, because I'm under the Band B, but I do not boast of 16 hours of light daily. In fact, in the past couple of weeks, it's been something else. But they'll still charge me the kilowatt hour charge for 16 hours. Meanwhile, I do not get that amount of light.
So I think the electricity regulators need to really work on a lot of things. At first, this Band A, Band B, work in such a way that you have a good tariff where you get service and all of that. That's just it. And you can optimize your costs. And most importantly, work on such a way that is done in other parts of the world, that if one electricity provider in your area is not doing well, you can easily switch to another one and go for a new electricity contract. That's just it. So it's about liberalizing the sectors. All of this defined Band A, Band B, and all of that, I don't think it's going to work in the long run. And most importantly, fix the electricity infrastructure. That is one thing we've not really looked at. We need to be able to look at how to fix the electricity infrastructure. And the earlier we fix it, the better it is for us. I think those are the things we ought to spend more money on. So today, we don't know what happened to the Siemens deal. We don't know what happened to the electricity ecosystem and all of that, and all the decisions and the planning made. So if we don't fix that, I don't think we're ready to go anywhere.
I was going to ask, because if you're talking about infrastructure developments within the electricity sector, can we talk about that without talking about the debts that we are owing in that particular sector? 1.3 trillion to Gencos, 1.3 billion dollars to the gas companies.
I think the part of the debt, the state house should start by paying its own debts that is owning the electricity companies. How can the state house be owing debts? We are all dragging Portable, but state house is owing debts. Anyway, we're not trying to encourage Portable's debts, but no. I think the state house should, and I think the last time President Tinubu said they were going to clear up that debt, all the government parts should start paying up all the debts. Because most of the bulk of these debts is doing old government parastatals, so they just make life difficult for us. So
but they have fundings. They have fundings for the electricity.
But they are not accountable with the funding. If you have money and you don't have accountability, it's like having no money. If you don't have accountability, you will not know when you blow 1 million naira in 2 days. You must have accountability for the money. We must have accountability for the money. What's the value? So it's not just about spending money. Okay, what's the value of the money spent? Is that the question?
We have the federal government trying as much as it can to, mark some milestones before May 29th, because the federal government has set to open the student loan application portal on May 24th rather. We know that the the student education loan fund is something that had a lot of controversy, especially when it comes to how would people repay loans. We saw what happened with the trader monies and all the other social intervention projects that different past administrations had gone ahead to embark on. So when it comes to this particular thing, I just wonder if we are not rushing to execute without ensuring that there's smooth implementation of this, to ensure that people actually pay back the loans, because we have situations where people borrow monies, take monies from the government, from state purses, and do not return them back.
I think repayment will be a big problem, but let them implement. Let's see default rates. The true test of the law is when you use the law. Let's see default rates. Let's even see their first 1 year and see default numbers and repayment number. Okay, by 1 year they will not be able to pay back, but after the first 5 years, let's see how it's going to go, and let's even see the administration of the money and how that is going to go. So those are the things that will determine a lot of things. So let's see.
All right. So we saw Mr. Sim Fubara. He says that those who do not wish him well as the number one man of the state can no longer sleep. We saw him talking yesterday to the Joint Youth Council.
I hear they can no longer sleep, but hope he also knows that if you are dealing with a very sturdy enemy, you too will not sleep. So he knows, and I can see a lot of overconfidence in him. There's a Yoruba song by Wasiu Ayinde Marshal that says, what it means is, it's just like a man that heard that if he heard the rumblings, it was like it was going to rain. It doesn't rain though. The remaining water I had, he went to pour it away with the hope that it was going to rain, and finally it didn't rain. So that's the way Sim is behaving. I can see this overconfidence. You should be watching. Igbo man will say, why you? You should be careful. Be watchful, small.
Take it easy.
An ascendancy now. Small. Why you?
All right. On a wrapping up note, Mr. Rufai, there was sort of like an explosion yesterday in Kano State, a mosque explosion, a really, really sad situation where a civil dispute escalated to a point where 11 lives have been lost. A civil dispute caused someone to lock up some people in the mosque, and then he burned down the mosque, poured petrol.
I'm sorry, with due respect, that man is a terrorist. The police is trying to say it's not a terrorist attack, it's a terrorist attack. What is terror? What is terrorism? When you visit terror on people, isn't it? Is that not terror? In civil disobedience. It's not the case of the man that hurt about 20-something people that they say because they forced a woman that doesn't want to marry him. Is that not the case you're talking about?
Yes.
Is that not terror? I mean, if they force a woman and you don't like the woman, say you don't want to be in the marriage again and you move on with your life. Why go and inflict pain on other people? Doesn't justify anything. That man should be apprehended, though. And as long as people die, you should be held for murder. Mass murder, in fact. I can even see the charge sheet in my head. Attempted murder, mass murder courts. How will you lock up people in the mosque and bomb them? And the police say it's not a terrorism. So what is terrorism?
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Rufai. Thank you so much for your time.
My prayers to the lives lost and the people that are hurt. I'm sorry. May God heal them. That's a very dastardly act. You should never support in our society.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Rufai. Have yourself a wonderful weekend.
Have a great one.
Okay, so for the benefit of those who just joined us, once again, I'm just going to check out some of the audio that I played earlier. We're going to see a video of Yahaya Bello enjoying himself in his vehicle, even though he has an 85 billion naira case with the EFCC. He was just chilling and enjoying himself. Really, really interesting. He was listening to Fireboy DML and just chilling in his vehicle. There's been different videos of Yahaya Bello. There was one where he was he was in combat gear and he was trying to, I don't know if it's trying to box his opponent. I don't know what it is, but there seems to be this air of confidence around him. If he's that confident, then he should take it to the court, right? If you're that confident that you do not have any case against Abi with the EFCC, then you should take it to the court, face the court's case, and let's see what the court has to say about it, instead of all this theatrics that he's displaying up and down. Anyway, also Governor Ikpeazu, former Governor Ikpeazu, was in the news as well, replying and Alex Oti, especially on the non-existent 10 billion naira funds that were earmarked for a non-existent airport in Abia State. This is what he had to say.
Yes, but I'd like to correct from the outset. We were thinking about the trade ports.
Trade ports?
Yes, because all we do in Nigeria is airport, and they don't seem viable.
Was that what also inspired the thought of Abia having an airport?
Yes, but I'd like to correct from the outset. We were thinking about the trade ports.
Trade ports?
Yes, because all we do in Nigeria is airport, and they don't seem viable. I wasn't thinking, Abia doesn't have money to sustain an airport. If it is for the purposes of airplane will land and airplane will take off. So we were saying, we can bring a small area into the airport so that somebody can come to the airport to shop and sleep and wait and then connect the next flight to the next location, as they do in Dubai. A small conference center, small hotel, whatever. So people can, there'll be life even after, And then, but at some point, we found out that we have 15 markets in Aba. At the point we were thinking about this trade port, we realized that the road to area was bad. The road to Zuku market was bad. The road to Ngwa Road market was bad. So all our markets, we couldn't connect. And my vision, dovetailing from my desire to drive trade and commerce, was to interconnect all the markets. And I will tell you the relevance in a minute. So we decided to suspend the airport project. So today, when the people talk about money for airport or whatever, I think they are questioning my decision to change my mind. And I have right at that time as governor to say, I don't want this airport now. Because if you land at the airport, where are you going to? You can't go to Ariara. So I had to, agree with the status quo at that time for us to finish some of this road. I'm happy that today I finished Ezuku Road from that fund. I finished Fox Road from that fund. Ongwa Road is okay. Osusu Road is okay. So today you can connect area through Osusu Road to Ezuku Market and connect Ezuku Market to Ongwa Road Market. So I succeeded in interconnecting all the markets, courtesy of that fund which we were supposed to, as it were, deploy for airport. And thank God we took that decision, because if we had gone ahead with that, 10 billion wouldn't have done an airport anyway. And that airport, I know about some airports right now that were commissioned that are yet to receive aeroplane. So why would I tie down 10 billion naira for nothing? So I assure you, no dime of that money was diverted.
All right. So the question now is, if no dime was diverted, why wasn't it documented? That okay, we spent so and so amount of money to link up area market with whatever market. Why wasn't it documented so that the next incoming governor would, know? Instead of allowing him to make accusations against you, quote unquote, if you did the due diligence. Anyway, we'll get more details from Mr. Larry. I'm sure he'll have a thing or two to say concerning this particular situation. Hey, we need to take a break and pay some bills. When we come back, we'll be speaking with Mr. Larry Ogoego, also to let us know what he thinks about some of our headlines this morning. Stay with us. Thank you for staying tuned. This is still the front page review on Voice of the People 96.1 FM. My name is Gesere. For the people just tuning in, you're welcome to the show. Where have you been? Where have you been since? Anyway, you're welcome. And we've been having a conversation about the different headlines this morning. We see that the president has given approval for the gradual payments of power sector's debts estimated at over 3.3 trillion naira. Currently, we have 1.3 trillion naira owed to the power gencos. We have $1.3 billion owed to gas companies. And the president has said that because of the incessant power outages in the country, he's approved the gradual payments of these debts estimated at over 3.3 trillion naira. We still have the federal government opening the student loan application portal May 24th rather. It seems like a rush to May 29th, but we'll get Mr. Larry's point of view in just a moment. Also, there are plans to use part of the pension funds. This is according to Mr. Wale Edun. He said that there are plans to use part of the pension funds for infrastructural development, looking at housing, and of course, find a way to provide Nigerians with affordable mortgages and all of that. But TUC isn't having it. They're talking about misappropriations here and there. After all, how can we trust the federal government to do what it says it will do? Also in the news, we have Lagos court okaying banks to collect customers' social media handles. All right, we have Mr. Larry on the phone. Good morning to you, Mr. Larry, and welcome.
Hi, good morning, Jason. So how are we doing?
We're doing good. We'll talk about your Friday plans while we're wrapping up the show. But for now, let me get your point of view. A Lagos court has said that the CBN's regulation to as a part of the standard Know Your Customer procedure to collect social media handles of their customers. What do you think about this? Because a lot of people are talking about the fact that I can give you any account. I can open a new account and give it to you. I can do anything I want to the social media, to my social media account. So why do you actually need someone's social media handles when you have other details like their house, their address, their phone numbers, their email addresses, their BVNs as well? So why do you need the social media handles?
The first question you must ask is, do we all have social media handles? The answer is no. Is it optional to have social media handles? The answer is yes. What it means is that I can put dash there because I don't have a social media handle. That's number one. Number two is that most social media handles can be opened in 3 minutes, sometimes less or a little more. So one can open a social media handle that he or she doesn't operate just to fill it there for you. I think sometimes we don't think policies through. We just want to, make sure that there's motion, even when we're not ensure that there's movement, that we'll just be running around. Because I don't really see what they want to do with social media handles. And the truth also is that we don't all have social media handles. A whole lot of people in Nigeria and elsewhere do not have social media handles. So I'm at a loss why they need social media handles. Maybe they should explain to us so that we'll understand. But for me, it's really a waste of our time and space. But if they can explain and then also explain how they intend to capture those, I mean, it's like telephone. If I'm opening a bank account and I don't have a GSM line, so do you compare me to get one? Or I don't have an email account. You want to send maybe your bank balance through email and I don't have it. You don't compare me to get an email account. Social media is even more superfluous. You want to be there? Yes. You don't want to be there? Well, it's your choice. So I don't really understand why we waste time on things that are really frivolous. They have the more important data, and I think they should stick with it.
All right. Moving on to another headline this morning, we have the Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, talking about the federal government's plan to borrow pension funds for infrastructural developments like housing and affordable mortgages and all of that. First of all, I don't know what your take is on this plan to take out of pension funds.
Well, I'm worried. I'm worried because we are not particularly disciplined with money. And, when people contribute to pension funds, they are basically trying to ensure that they don't have challenges in future. Borrowing from pension funds and putting the money to use is not a bad idea in itself. But the question becomes, are we sure that the money will be used judiciously for the purpose? That's question number one. Question number two, are we sure that the federal government that is borrowing the money will be able to pay when due? Already civil servants are suffering because a lot of them don't get their gratuity when due. Some don't get it at all. Some don't get their pensions. I've seen retired military personnel frequently going with their mat to demonstrate that they're not getting their pensions. So it's a little scary that they are contemplating borrowing from the pension fund. The question is, are they going to be able to pay back when due? Are they going to pay interest? Naturally, if they're borrowing money, they should pay interest. The problem for me is that I don't trust them to pay, and it's a very sensitive matter because when people contribute money to their for their pensions, they don't want to hear stories when they retire. So they should be careful. If they are going to invest the money, they should invest the money in projects that will necessarily facilitate the process of repayment. So if you're investing it in roads, you have quality roads, then you have toll gates, maintain the roads well so that provide security so people will use the roads and at least you get part of the money used to pay back. Unfortunately, we don't think like this most of the time. But I hope that if they are going to push this idea through, they should necessarily figure out how to make sure that the money is paid when due. If not, it will spell disaster for the very well thought out pension scheme that the contributing pensions system is currently enjoying.
All right. Looking at some of the headlines this morning, we have INEC cautioning the governors of Edo and Ondo states. This is towards the upcoming gubernatorial elections, that they should not abuse the power of incumbency during that election. I mean, INEC can say one thing, but we know that the politicians, they can do whatever they like without no consequences. Because when you look at it, we have laws and we have laws guiding elections, but INEC is one of the people who do not even enforce it. We have situations where your agents are supposed, the names of your agents are supposed to be submitted to INEC. We have political parties who do not do that. We have situations where you're supposed to submit the amount of money you spend on your campaigns to INEC. People don't do that. So when it comes to conversations like this, you begin to wonder who then is supposed to enforce the law.
The truth is that INEC is not primarily a law enforcement agency in the sense of maybe apprehending governors when they do the wrong thing and encourage violence. Of course, if they do something that is in the Electoral Act, INEC should ordinarily wield a big stick. But unfortunately, INEC is overwhelmed. That's the truth of the matter. People are talking about unbundling INEC. It's overwhelmed. You expect INEC to run elections, run logistics, apprehend electoral offenders, prosecute them, and all of that. It's unwieldy. I mean, it's not something one organization can do efficiently. I mean, it's obvious that they are failing us. So if we're talking about electoral matters, for instance, submit your expenditure for campaign to us. Yes, the INEC should insist on that, but then the legislators should also do their homework, because what is the consequence of not submitting that financial report? If there is no consequence and you're telling the person submit, the person may not submit it and nothing will happen. And INEC is not particularly strict in dealing with politicians. They have actually somehow compromised to the extent that politicians don't take INEC seriously. In fact, one of the rules of politics in Nigeria is that you should know one person or the other in INEC. That is one of the unspoken rules, and that's not good enough. So I think INEC has even lost the moral courage to call political parties to order. And if they're going to restore that moral courage, it means that they have to go back to the drawing board, which even starts from managing their staff who already are compromised. Of course, we know about the big man that was jailed, I think, in Akwebom State and so many other stories. Of course, there are scandals that you can't explain. A man wakes up one day and announces gubernatorial result when he knows clearly that it's not his bid to do that. These are some of the things that are very embarrassing, that makes it difficult for people, especially politicians who have a deep pocket, to take an neck seriously. So they have a right to issue a warning. The question is, so after the warning, what next? The people you are talking to, are they listening? If they heard you, are they taking you seriously? I'm sure they're not taking you seriously. They were planning how to win the election. In Nigeria, the rule is, let me win the election first, then go to court.
All right. Talking about past governors and the power that they wield. I played an audio earlier about former Governor Ikpeazu responding to Governor Alex Otti, especially on this issue of the 10 billion naira that was earmarked for an Abia airport that was non-existent. He talked about the fact that he wanted to create a trade port, not an airport, and eventually he used the funds to connect different markets in Abia State. Now, I don't know what your take is on that, first of all. And then if he did, connect those roads with that 10 billion naira earmarked for the airport, why wasn't it documented properly so that everyone knows, okay, this is what you use the monies for?
Well, first of all, we have small king gods and emperors as governors in Nigeria. The governors have actually made themselves to be seen as kings that cannot be spoken to. In Igbo language, they call them Ezonyagwalam, the king that nobody can advise. That is what the governors have become. Having said that, I want to make it clear that the governor does not have the right to use money appropriated for airport to do roads unless they didn't pass through the budgetary process, which in itself is wrong. If you actually prepare a budget and you say, oh, we have allocated this money for airport, and it passes through the budgetary process successfully, that money must be used for the airport. If you're not using it for the airport, you take it back to the coffers of the state and you do another appropriation for that money for roads. That didn't happen. First of all, the present governor realized that money was meant for airport because it was documented somewhere. But at no point was it documented that this money was finally used for roads. So to that extent, I think this is what we call rationalization. That is when you do something bad, you begin to look for how to make it look good. But if per chance, if we stretch our imagination and assume that he actually used the money for roads, which I don't believe, then the question becomes, why would you use money as if you're in a provision shop without documentation? That is, you take money for airport and use it for road, and we probably take money for road and use it for water, use the water. You can't run a state like that. It shows lack of planning. He was saying my vision. It shows lack of vision too. If you have a vision,
Hello. All right, we'll try to reconnect with Mr. Larry right about now so we can get his thoughts on this particular issue of 10 billion naira that was earmarked for Abia Airport being repurposed to use them for roads. Looking at some of these issues, you begin to wonder if the governors themselves even understand what the law says. Then the state's houses of assembly, are they just figureheads? Do they not understand their jobs? Do they not understand what they're supposed to be doing? Right? Abia State is one state that has been rife with underdevelopment. It's been grossly underdeveloped so far. Looking at the amount of potential, just look at Aba market alone, the amount of potential that particular market has, in the country. Hello, Mr. Larry, welcome back. Hello.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, you were talking about lack of vision.
Yes, so I was saying essentially that if the governor was running his state on the basis of a vision he said he had, then there wouldn't be this kind of mix-up, because a person who has vision ordinarily should plan and then execute the plan based on the vision. So you don't have a vision without thinking it through. And then you have a right to change your mind, we agree. But if you change your mind, you follow due process, so changing how you spend the money that you have already appropriated for the airport. So this, his explanation, tells you how arbitrary our governors are, how much power they have arrogated to themselves. And it was an indictment of his capacity to plan. When at the time he was allocating money to the airport, he didn't see that all these roads were bad. In fact, it was a kind of self-indictment, because you should have thought the whole thing through. You can't spend 10 billion without creating a proper team to look at all of the plans and make sure that everything is okay. It's after you have appropriated the money that you now realize that you have to do roads. Then the money just somehow disappeared into roads without any documentation. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. I think it's just rationalizing, trying to explain away the obvious. But we have not had the last of this story. I think maybe by the time Governor decides what to do with the matter, then we'll probably get to hear the last chapter of the story.
All right. We have the federal government through NEL Fund, that's the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, on Thursday announcing May 24th as the official date for the opening of the portal for student loan applications. I don't know what your take is on this, because a lot of people have been, raising concerns about the federal government and their different loan platforms, and how repayment of loans is usually the issue.
First of all, I hope they are ready. I don't want them to embarrass themselves and embarrass us because they are rushing to say, oh, we started it in the first year in office. So I sincerely hope they are ready to go. If they are not ready, they should just calm down and do it when they are ready. That's number one. Number two is that I'm worried about how this is going to work. Basically because from what the boss to run the institution said on national television, it looks as if that they will decide who to give the loan and who not to give on the basis of information supplied by the person primarily. And that is very dangerous in Nigeria. So I'm worried about the right persons getting this loan. I'm worried about the fact that people who already have their school fees comfortably paid may still go and get the loan to the detriment of people who need the loan. I don't think the screening method is robust enough. I don't think people should just apply, get guarantors, and then say that I don't have money, and maybe give you an affidavit and you give the person money and expect the person to pay. I assume, and I have reasons to do so, that a lot of Nigerians who don't need a loan will apply. I also assume that a lot of them will assume that they will not pay back the loan. I can also assume that the federal government cannot recover the loan the way Nigeria works. Even in America, it's very difficult to recover student loans with all of the systems they have in place. How much more in Nigeria? That is the way Nigeria works. It's going to turn into a kind of bazaar of patronage. Is it possible to recover it? Yes. Is it going to be very difficult? Yes. The person you are giving the loan now, you're talking about recovering the loan, may not have a job 10 years after graduation. So how is he going to pay you the money? So we need to worry about some of these things, but I prefer we think, not just worry. We convert our energy to thinking about solutions. I hope it won't become a chaotic situation where people who already have resources will go and get the money. In Nigeria, you need connections for almost anything and everything. And I hope connections will not play a big role in this one, because the poor people who need the loan mostly don't have the connections. The people who have the connections don't need the loan. So they should have a more verifiable means of identifying those who don't have school fees or who struggle to pay school fees. I got a mail from a student of a certain university, a federal university, who may not be able to finish final year because he can't pay tuition and all of that. Now, these are we investigated. He said, you can investigate what I said, because a lot of people ask. We investigated and we found out that it's really true. These are the kind of people that we should be looking at. They are desperately looking for help, and this is final year, so you can't keep going to sites to work and do this and do that. He wants to be able to graduate. I hope we'll find a more credible way and creative way to verify the claims of those who say they need the scholarships. And I'm not comfortable with the fact that if you are in a private university in Nigeria, you don't get the loan. There are courses in private universities in Nigeria that may not be readily on offer in some public institutions. I think they need to tweak this whole thing and say, how do we accommodate people who may want to go to private universities for legitimate reasons? We have limited spaces to study certain courses in public institutions. People may want to study certain courses that they're passionate about, and they may not even find them in these public institutions, or they may not be good enough, or they may not have enough space for all those who aspire to study them. And then you are now compelling the person to change his mind to study something in a public university because the person necessarily needs a scholarship. So I think we can fine-tune it further, but I'm worried about the issue of recovery. I'm more worried about giving it to the right persons who need the loan. I think that's where they should do even more work, because truth be told, I'm waiting for the scandals. I'm praying that it doesn't come.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Larry. Also, Friday plans?
Well, I'm going to basically
rest,
enjoy myself this weekend. I'm going for a small retreat in my friend's guest house in his village. So I will just sit back, enjoy village breeze, maybe eat some fresh food from the farms. He has a farm, an integrated farm. I was actually there last weekend. I did my Monday program. I left there Monday. So I'm going back there to rest some more, do some writing, do some reflection, and then escape. It makes me come back very fresh.
All right.
And
rejuvenated for the next
Abuja.
week.
Is it red or blue or black that you're going to paint Abuja this weekend? Whatever.
Red, though. It's red.
Can you paint it red? That's nice. So go get yourself some fun.
All right.
Enjoy yourself despite the hard times. We have to keep our heads above water.
Definitely.
Whatever is happening around us.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Larry, and enjoy your weekend. We'll talk on Monday.
I will. And you too.
All right. To you listening, thank you so much for being a part of the show. It is the last episode of the week. We'll make a comeback on Monday, another work week. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. My name is Gesiri. Good morning.